And now we have the opportunity to talk to Clint Recker and Peyton Boyle. Clint is in product engineering and Peyton in sales. And we're going to get to ask them a couple of questions about the 2330 and its history and what is next for Vermeer. And so we're super excited to have you guys. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to talk with us. Clint, we'll start with you. Clint, can you just give us a little bit of background about yourself at the Vermeer company?
My name is Clint Recker. I'm the product manager for HDD here at Vermeer. I've been with Vermeer for 18 years, most of that on the engineering side, a little bit on the sales side. And so my role as product manager is a liaison between our customer and our engineering team. And it's my job to go out and work with our customers, doing the process that we call VOC, or Voice of Customer. And everything that we do starts with the customer. So if we're thinking about a new product or a change to a product, it is very important to go talk to the customer and understand what they like, what they don't like, what we need to do to continue to be the partner that they choose. And so we work with our customers to understand those opportunities, those needs, and then bring that back to the factory and work with our engineering team on developing new product.
That's a long time with Vermeer.
It is. Vermeer's been very good to us.
That's awesome. So jumping right into talking about the 2330, when you were in the initial design discussions of the 2330, what was the challenge in the market that you saw that you guys were trying to solve?
Yeah, with the opportunity in the market, it was really around the desire to have a machine that had a compact footprint and it had more capability. So you could kind of think of it as a crossbred between the 20 by 22 and the 2440.
Mhm.
So customers really liked the size of the 2022. They liked the capability of the 2440. And the 2330 that resulted was a kind of a combination of the strengths of both those machines. So we wanted something that had a more capable drill rod, and we used the 2440 drill rod. We wanted a little bit more mud flow. We wanted a little bit more push-pull. And it was really important to have that small machine footprint. And so it was really challenging for the team to fit everything into a machine of that size to have the capability that they wanted, but our customers really liked it and are happy with how that machine has done in the market and certainly has led to what is coming next, or it has come next, I should say.
Yeah, that's right. So the 2330 was produced between 2014, that was the first one, right? And then you guys just switched over now in 2025 to the D24. Um, was there any piece of specifically maybe tough customer feedback that you guys got in that process that led itself to iterations in the 2330 over those 10 years?
Yeah, I would say that a piece of feedback that we've had is noise on the job site. And that really was a focus for S3 in general to make our machines quieter. And it was a pretty tough challenge to be able to do that. The 2330 was the first machine that we had ever built that had a guaranteed sound power of less than 100. And there's a lot of work that went into that. And so if you were to look at the cooling package of the 23, you would see that there's some unique aspects about what we've done with that machine to make it quieter. And as we brought that machine to the testing phase and started working with customers, it was very obvious how welcome that change was to our customers. And a couple big things. You think about the communication aspect. We were just so used to yelling at each other when we're standing, by the machine talking to the operator. And now with this S3 platform, we can stand next to the customer. We can talk like you and I are talking now. We're not having to yell at them. And you think about what that's like for an operator who has to sit on that machine all day, of sitting on a loud machine versus a machine that's quieter, and how you feel at the end of the day. And then you think about the surrounding areas. Sometimes we're out in the country where we're doing this work, but a lot of times we're in town. This machine is more so used in a residential or urban area. And so you think about what that's like for the people around it. It's just a big improvement if it's a quieter machine.
It definitely is a quieter machine.
Mhm.
So with it being such a successful drill for over a decade, um, Were there specific engineering things that you guys were able to bring directly into the D24? I guess successful things that you found with the 23 that you brought directly into the D24?
Absolutely. The biggest two things would be what we've talked about in terms of the compact footprint and the sound as well. The 2330 really fit a niche with that compact footprint of being able to have a larger machine capability compared to what we've had in the past, with a machine that's not as big as a 2440. And so as we were talking about customers, as we're thinking about the future, that was definitely something that was very apparent that our customers liked about the 2330. And the capability with the drill rod, our customers did want a little bit more there with regards to capacity, and then sound as well. So the machine was really well liked with how quiet it was, and that was definitely something that customers keyed in on and said, if you're thinking about something for the future, we want it to be quiet like this machine.
Nice. During the design process, was there any, I mean, you kind of just touched on it about it being the footprint and a quiet machine. Was there anything that they said you guys came away with in your design meetings and you knew that it was going to be critical to the success of the D24?
Yeah. With regards to the success of the D24, one of the biggest areas of opportunity was around ARE, the automated rod exchange. And as we look at the problems that are in the market right now with regards to operator availability, maybe some of the skill levels of the operators that are coming in, where maybe that's not the same as it's been for years in the past, we really wanted to understand how could we make the onboarding of a new operator easier, and how could we reduce the workload of a skilled operator. And there are certainly operators out there that have really embraced ARE, which I'm sure Peyton will talk a little bit more about, but you don't have to use it. So if you're an old school operator, it's not a requirement.
Well, it seems like from the little bit of feedback, I'm sure Peyton will touch on it more because he gets much more feedback than we do. The couple of guys that I've talked to that have used them have said great things. So it seems like you did a really good job. So thank you for your contribution to the HDD industry and market.
Thank you. Yes, we're very excited about the D24.
Cool. Well, now we'll talk to Peyton Boyle. Peyton, can you give us a little bit of your background and what your role is at Vermeer?
Yeah. So my name's Peyton Boyle. I'm the sales manager for the trenchless side of our business, which entails our core drills, so our D8x12 up to D60x90, the mix systems that support those drills. And so I manage a team of 5 that goes out and helps support our dealers, with all of those products. So we spend a lot of time out working with dealers and customers. That can be anything from startups, training, trade shows, whatever it may be that's sales related, customer, dealer facing. So spend a lot of time out with customers. And we work closely with Clint and our internal teams to continue to bring that feedback back to those key stakeholders in Pella.
Talking with Sean Hendricks, one of our owners, in the kind of talking about the history of even our business and the HDD industry, that was one of the things that he mentioned as from his perspective, being such a successful thing for Vermeer was how much you listen to your customers and kind of the process that you guys have to go kind of do market research and then bring it back and implement that into the design of your drills. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think I would tell you we have one of the coolest jobs at Vermeer. And the reason for that is just we truly get to interact and work with all sides of the business, right? So while we spend a lot of that time out in the field working with our dealers and customers, it's just as critical and most critical that information, that voice of the customer and voice of the dealer, gets back to those right people at Vermeer. And that's ultimately what drives us to continue to be better and to improve upon things. You'll see that with the D24. But I think we're set up in a way that it really helps strive to do what we try to do at Vermeer.
Yeah. Well, talking about the 23 specifically, from a product positioning and marketing perspective, what has the success of the 2330 over the years taught you guys about what customers truly value in a drill of this size?
Yeah. I think overall, talking about the 2330 or a lot of our core drills, our customers value uptime. They value reliability. They value ease of operation. So the ability to jump on a 2330 or a 10 by 15 or a 4055, being able to go between models and not having to learn from the ground up, right? They can feel comfortable when they hop on one machine. Productivity and profitability is some of our key pillars, and I think you'll see that on the S3 machines. You'll see that taken a step further on the D24 and the new platform that we're heading, because we're really just building off of what we've had success in the past decade with those S3 models. So I think for us, the 2330, as Clint mentioned, we really focused on a compact power, a power to footprint ratio that was really unmatched in the market. And it provided a need for those customers. Customers are using 2330s for a multitude of different work. I think for us, we think 20 by 22, 2330 is more centered around the telecom market. And it definitely is a machine that does a lot of that work. And when you're talking about, the build out of this fiber in urban areas, especially, having the power and that footprint makes a huge impact on the job site. They have a machine that's versatile. They also have a machine that they can configure to whatever works best in their operation. You'll see 2330s being hauled around by customers, or the support equipment needed is different, and it's whatever they have as they've grown their business, or whatever makes the most sense to them. So I would say that it's not just the compact footprint on the job site, but then how customers can utilize that as they're going from job to job, trailering, the mix systems that are supporting the drills, all of that. And I think that's really where the 2330 has had its success, is the power that it's providing for the work that it's doing.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference, because the next step up with a 24, you're looking at a different trailer, different truck, different mud system setup, right?
Yep. Yeah, so that's what really customers valued, is being able to put the drill next to a mix system on a trailer. So they'll pull the drill to the job site, get the drill unloaded, start setting up for the day. They can run off, go get some water, get back to the job site. But being able to transfer that from job to job all in one package is really where the D2330 shined. And it was an emphasis and a focus for us as we made the transition to the D24, was to keep that compact footprint, but ultimately from a support equipment side, not a whole lot has to change either.
Yeah, I can see that being super important. Nice. Thank you. So with the 2330 being such a workhorse for so long, what is the next iteration, the D24? What really stands out about that over the 23?
Yeah. So I think I'd start, Clint mentioned S3, and I kind of just want to reconfirm what that stands for, right? So that's speed, simplicity, and sound. And while we don't have S3 on the D24, we don't have that badge that had that focus. It's not that we went away from that, right? We've continued to build upon that through customer feedback. And I think what you'll really see with the D24 is a focus around confidence, uptime. You'll see the automation with a true focus on reliability, longevity, and serviceability of the machine. So what's been really cool for us with the launch of the D24 is that as you walk around that machine, you will see essentially ground up redesigns of all aspects of the machine, right? So if you start up on the front of the machine by the vices and stake downs, and you work your way all the way back to the rear and over to the rod box, I mean, you will see design changes that were directly driven by customer feedback. And so I think through that, as we made real intentional focus on reliability, that came with those design changes. Some of those being structurally, some of those being component selection, some of that being on the electrical side. All of those were a focus on reliability to ultimately improve uptime. And then what's really, I guess, where I'm really proud of is that Vermeer we didn't just do those upgrades and then just say, hey, believe us. We provided a 3-year, 3,000-hour warranty to say, hey, we back this machine. We believe in these updates and the design changes and the improvements that we made to give our customers that confidence over those first 3 years that machine's out working for them. So I think, that's the biggest one, is the reliability improvements that we have with the D24. And then really, we know that our equipment goes through some vigorous work day in and day out. And at some point, if that machine goes down, what can we do to help that operator, that customer get up and going faster? How can we minimize that downtime? And so what we've done is we've been able to create onboard diagnostics. So everything prior to that a tech would have had to plug into the machine to diagnose it is now, right there at the operator station, and the operator can get in there and see the number of different diagnostic screens to help relay that information back to our local dealers to get that customer up and going. And so that's where we value a lot of the work, is the reliability on the front side, but then if that machine goes down, we can respond in a quicker manner to get them up and going.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll find that extremely helpful. So what has been the customer feedback from, I guess, your dealers and then also customers on the D24?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I would tell you that we tried to make a big splash with the D24, right? This is our next generation of drill. We took this machine to a number of locations when we first launched it, and it's such a difference in how we're designing the equipment that we felt that customers needed to sit on the machine to see some of those things firsthand. As Clint mentioned, the auto rod exchange. So the automated rod exchange, it's one thing for us to show you videos of it, to tell you about the benefits of it, but it's a whole nother thing to have an operator, a fleet manager, an owner of a company sit on the D24 and experience that automation firsthand. And so we focus on the automation being not only a benefit in getting newer operators up to speed quicker, but also by managing that rod cycle, throughout the course of the day or every rod exchange sequence. By the machine doing that and doing it the right way, we have a lot of optimism of what that can do for a customer over the span of that machine's life, as we look at wearable costs. So sub saver, the not spinning in the magnets, vice dies, the rod. The rod is going to be one of the biggest wear items that a customer, or a cost that they have associated to a drill. And so if we can use the automation to help with that, we hope that we're helping save customers quite a bit of money over that machine's lifespan. I was just on a job in Louisiana a couple weeks ago, and something new that I realized while being on the job was that this customer, it was a startup. They had bought a D24 to get their business off the ground, and eventually then bought another D24 to continue to expand and take on more work. And they would be a company that's grown from 2 employees and now they're at 7 employees. And by having the automation on the machine, they're able to strategically, kind of as they go from shot to shot, they can put different operators on the machine to get them up to speed, right? So they'll take maybe their more tenured, experienced operators and have them run the machine during drill out. But then they can take somebody that's a little bit more green, hasn't come from, the utility construction industry, They're coming from all over now, but they can put them back on the machine during pullback, and that person has the capability with the automation to pull that pipe back, right? And so they can strategically utilize their resources on the job site, whatever makes the most sense for them. And that was really cool to me because it showcased the versatility that we focus on at Vermeer, and our equipment plays a key role in that. And I think that's where the automation really shines, is having that on the job site now for our customers to utilize.
I could really see. I mean, that's like a real life example of that's huge for a business and being
Yeah,
able to grow that rapidly. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
At the Utility Expo, I got to see the unveiling of the D24 and the one with the cab, and honestly, it looked awesome. It was super impressive. Clint, maybe you could speak to it. Where was the design inspiration for that, or maybe the market need for the design of the new cab?
Yeah, we're really excited about being able to put a factory installed cab on a machine of this size. And it, like other things that we've talked about, comes from customer feedback. And there are places around the world where operators are very influential in purchasing decisions sometimes, that they'll buy this machine rather than that machine because of how comfortable it is. And a cab can certainly help our customers and their operators if you think about places that are really cold or really hot. If we can make that operator more comfortable, it's possible to help with their productivity or potential the amount of hours that they can put in a day. And then the next thing was, okay, they want a cab, but how do you put a cab on a machine that's this small? And so that was a lot of work for our industrial design team and our engineering team here at the factory. And they worked together. There was a number of mock-ups that were done prior to ever having any steel cut, some things that our industrial design team was able to do virtually and better understand what we needed from a space claim and how to make the most of that space available. And then working with our engineering team to actually build prototypes and get people in them, people of all sizes, and understand, how does this cab work for you? Is it comfortable? What would this cab mean for you? And we showed it at Utility Expo, and I'll kick it over to Peyton to talk about what the feedback was.
yeah. Overall, the feedback was great from both customers and dealers. The cab has been an area in which that we've gotten a lot of feedback. We understand that there's areas for improvement, and I think we answered the call on that. So from a comfort, visibility, all of that, now them having the space in that cab that, by repositioning on our current cabs, our screens are kind of right in front of the operator on our S3 cabs. And for different sized operators, we can get tight in there, and we can run into hitting our knees on that display. And so one of the biggest things that we did was we took our Aurora display and our drill display, and we put those up on a rail mount. And so that gets them out of the way, it gives the operators more space in the cab, but it also gives them the ability to position those displays and screens whatever works best for them, right? So they can reposition that so that it makes them the most productive or most efficient over the span of their workday. I think that's kind of the biggest feedback that we're getting, is just the overall comfortability of it. And one thing I would add is, we've seen over the years an increase in the amount of drills that we're sending out with cabs. And, in our minds, we think first of weather, right? We think of areas of cold climates up in the northern U.S., Canada. But really for us, our international markets really demand a lot of the machines or drills that we ship out have cabs. And we're seeing that even in the warmer climates. And I would say anymore, it's not so much a factor of the climates that our drills are working in. It's having the ability to, as Clint mentioned, having their operators more comfortable over a long workday. And that helps with the retention of those employees, right? So as you think of the shortage of operators out there, if owners can purchase machines with cabs, it helps them in going after some of those operators in the field, and then it helps retain them, right? So I think that's some big areas that we'll continue to focus on, and you'll see firsthand on the D24 with the updated cab, but with future models to come.
That's super cool. Just another example of you guys listening to good customer feedback. One of my questions as you're speaking to that would be, does that change the trailer that you need with it fitting next to the mud system? I'm assuming it would.
Yeah, so with the cab, it took a lot of work from our engineering teams to be able to put a cab, and that is the only cab on a 24,000-pound machine. So that is, again, just showcasing that we're trying to be real intentional on providing that comfort where we can, right? So we spent a lot of work doing that, but by putting a cab on that size machine, that cab will stick out roughly about 10 inches away from, I guess, the edge of the machine. So that'll change how customers will configure that on a job site. Yep. Most instances, customers will just put the drill on a trailer and probably put the mix systems on the truck. So that's kind of the direction and the feedback that we're getting from customers. But ultimately, kind of a decision that we're seeing from customers as we transcend of the feedback we're getting, the power of the machine, the extra onboard rod, all of that is making it more apparent to customers that they might need more water out on the job site. So transitioning from 500 gallons of fluids on the job site to stepping up mixed systems and going to 1,000-gallon tank. So all of which customers we're going to have to look at increasing the size of some of that other equipment, so trucks. But yeah, we're excited about it. We get a lot of great feedback on the cab. We're excited to get them out into the field.
Well, thank you guys so much again for your time. We really genuinely appreciate it. We appreciate everything that you guys do, again, as your contribution to the HD industry and helping customers and helping new businesses be able to grow like that. It's really awesome. And thank you for each of you for being able to spend a little bit of time talking and sharing today. Even though as of 2025, Vermeer has stopped producing the 2330 in favor of the new D24, it doesn't mean that the legacy of the 2330 is over. The 2330 is still a viable option for HD contractors today. If you're interested in buying a used 2330, we grabbed one of our lead mechanics, Tim Chochos, to walk us through 4 things that you'll want to know before you buy a 2330. If you're interested in that video, check it out here.